One final testimony here. This is from Nathaniel. I just found this, and it speaks to me on a lot of levels. Too many forget that the continuance of a people should come from the love of one's own people, and not a hate for the other. I hate the mistakes I made. I wear them every day, and some I even wish I could take back. But time is merciless and flows only forward. I'm trying to rectify them, but some I may just have to live with. It's an uphill battle. Listen to this guy, No White Guilt.
Listen to this guy, No White Guilt, No White Guilt, No White Guilt, Listen to this guy, No White Guilt, No White Guilt, No White Guilt.
Everything from being a man to encouraging your kin to face tattoos to how you identify yourself and your beliefs to discerning your motivations for why you want to see the children of the West survive. Don't make my mistakes. You'll feel like a fool otherwise. Don't make my mistakes. As from Nathaniel Nelson, a warning to him about the warnings that he wished he had somebody share with him.
Listen to this guy, No White Guilt, No White Guilt, No White Guilt, Listen to this guy, No White Guilt, No White Guilt, No White Guilt, Listen to this guy, No White Guilt, No White Guilt.
I want to thank Andreas and his team over there. Andreas specifically at Nordic Frontier for taking that testimony and putting that to music. How absolutely splendid is that? A good going free to all of you. I hope everybody is doing magnificently as I am. We're just going to come in here for a little bit and have a little chat. I can already see that looks like the best, 60 or so people in the white positive sphere have shown up from the 2000 that we were just watching over with Mark and the good doctor. I see Elaine Sabatino is here. Great to see you. Twin Ravens, great intro. I'm catching up on your regular NWG streams. You have been on fire. Keep on kipping. I absolutely will, and thank you so much for the great compliment. Jonas, Laurel, wonderful to see you all. Little Frig, Holly, Final Blossom, the great Final Blossom, ladies and gentlemen, is with us. Ashley is here. Nordic Iron is here. So many big, so many important folks. The great Tall Kevin here, which has been finding this wonderful gentleman, finding signs. What do they say, Kevin? What do those signs say? Finding them all over the place. And I think some of them very large signs. The great Carlisle is here. Cockatoo. Wonderful to see you, dear lady. So, yeah, it's great to be with you all. Wonderful to see Donning Armor and Tricky Woo. And what do you all want to talk about quickly? What I want to do, Andre Boston is here. Great to see you, brother. Let's get some energy going, right? Sunday we were on fire, 8 hours there. Yesterday doing wonderful things, working on day after day, just so many magnificent things going on. And I couldn't be more excited. Not the least of which to be excited about is this wonderful billboard. Now, remember, if you know where this is, don't say where it is. We don't want the billboard owner bothered, vexed, attacked, home set on fire, all of that sort of thing that the anti-whites are wont to do. So if you know where that is, don't say so, but it is on an American, major American thoroughfare, and it is working wonders for us here in service to white well-being. So many magnificent things. We've shown a bunch of these, like the works of Irish Ice and many others. And folks, we have, of course, the great material going out by Groundhog Fury for Crucible. We provided this link and we'll provide it again, and we'll make sure that it's in the live chat before we wrap up today. This is, you can go right onto this file sharing platform. I paid for space on it, so it is, as far as I know, and researched and consulted, a safe platform. All of these things that you're seeing here, plus that magnificent video by Groundhog Fury, the commercial for Crucible, is available for you in multiple formats. There are GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it. You can obtain all of these things, and you can use them in your efforts in order to bring folks over to white well-being. Please do so. We need to be the algorithm. The anti-whites, they have mounted numerous campaigns against me over the past 2 months since we took it up several notches, and doing everything they can to undermine me. And yet we are still getting out to a great many folks, very rapidly approaching 200,000 impressions, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make sure every single one of them know, the MAGA folks know out there, that we are in service to white well-being, and that their lives too can be improved by coming over to this service. They can win those arguments. They can tap into who and what they actually are, what their talents actually are, physical, mental, and spiritual. And by doing so, they'll be a better people. They'll be better parents. They'll be better brothers and sisters, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, grandparents, grandmothers, granddaughters, and everything, grandfathers, grandsons, everything you can imagine. And they'll do wonders, beyond wonders, for white well-being, preserving Western civilization, what we have here, and ennobling it, expanding upon it, so that we never find ourselves in this situation again, so that we don't see so many of our youth enduring child abuse, the worst that the world has ever seen in all of history. We need your help. We need you to be a participant, not just an observer. And a big thank you to everyone. So I'll take a step back. A big thank you to Groundhog Fury for what he is doing. A big thank you to Andreas, who's just making these videos. He's reached out to me, Nordic Frontier. He's reached out and he talks about how these testimonies mean so much to him, how they mean so much to so many people. And then by doing what he's done here, he has massively magnified the effect of those testimonials, has he not? So a big round of raucous emojis for Andreas and the great work that they are doing. Let's make sure he finds out that we are deeply grateful. Let's see, we have, let's see who's here. Yonash, it's interesting, the leader is talking about the half Japanese leader of the nationalist group in the, I guess it's the country where you live, isn't it? Nordic Iron saying, I think if No White Guilt and Dr. Duke had an unlimited length live stream, it would be endless. So much energy from those good men. I guess it wouldn't be energy. It would be endless. What do you think we should eventually do with the Kalergi children? Yonash, well, I answered this question in the previous stream, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to answer it again. This question of what do we do with the people who have non-white heritage? Well, we do nothing with them. That's what we do. We do nothing. They're human beings. And when you ask this kind of a question, and when you are thinking these kind of thoughts, you are still in some confusion, still embroiled in this anti-white narrative, where things are done to people who have non-white heritage, and things are done to people who have some sort of medical disability, and things are done if you aren't tall enough, and things are done. I mean, that's not reality. That's not who we are. It is a hypothetical question. It is inconceivable that we would be in absolute control of our countries at the moment. It's totally inconceivable. So the question then is, what do you do with people who happen to have non-white heritage, or 100% non-white? Well, what you do is you allow them to make some decisions. Are they going to be anti-white? Because if they are, we will acknowledge that they're anti-white. If they are going to serve white well-being, well, then we welcome them to serve white well-being with us. We need to fight anti-whiteism if we're going to maintain Western civilization. And that means everyone's future is on the line here. Whether you have 1/100th non-white, 0 non-white, 50% non-white, whatever it might be, all of your destinies, all of your futures are on the line. And so everyone needs to come together to fight against anti-whiteism. Regrettably, there won't be many non-white people who will come forward, which will make the ones who do all the more special. And it presupposes coming forward to serve white well-being presupposes that those things that people are concerned about, like biological white erasure, won't take place. Because if you've come here to serve white well-being, that means you want to preserve the Western kind, Westmen. And so biologically white erasing them just is off the table at the beginning of the conversation. You would not come to the service of white well-being otherwise. I want to also say that a big thank you to Sakis, who is in the process of making this magnificent audio only at the moment commercial. And he has asked me to do the voiceover, and I'm doing that. I'm working with him, and we are putting this together. It's going to be beautiful once it's done. I gave a bunch of hours to it yesterday. He's doing all the lion's share of the work. He's the magician that's making it happen. And then I think he's going to open it up for people to be able to put their visuals on it, but these will only be acceptable and endorsed, of course, by yours truly if it is in line with white well-being, fits our morality, and is material that is owned, so that you're not using somebody else's material and then getting your video taken down or your channel shut down. And I'm certainly not going to jeopardize this channel because somebody has used material that they don't own. So thank you so very much. Yonash says, perhaps it'd be more appropriate to say what will eventually happen to people with non-white heritage. Well, what will eventually happen with our science? There are a lot of questions. Alleluia is here, great to see you. Promethean Promulgation is here, great to see you. What will eventually happen with our science? Will we eventually be able to take the actual DNA and pluck out parts that people find, that owners, who parents find objectionable, or that you could have actually done to your DNA in your body as you are already in life, and have certain bits taken out, other bits put in? I guess people would have that as an opportunity to them. I don't know. Maybe we're going to have, there isn't going to be one rule for all things across Western civilization around planet Earth. There are going to be many opportunities, many places for people who say, well, I don't want to live there because I completely disagree with X, Y, or Z, but I will live here because they allow me to indulge X, Y, or Z, or A, B, C. Because we like variety in Western civilization, and I can't even discussing such sorts of things about totally hypothetical. It's like talking about fairy tales. So I don't know what'll happen in the future, but I can assure you that there'll be no crime, there'll be no injustice, nothing immoral will befall people for their immutable characteristics. And that is just the way it is. Rub-a-Dub Media is here. Great to see you. Hello, hello. And all right, Popcorn Popper is here. Adam is here. Let's go ahead and roll. Looks like we have almost 100 people out of the 2,000. We have Mr. Trentness wrote me, I just bought this book. I was so lucky to grow up in a small town that had strong Scandinavian roots, and cultural pride was encouraged. I didn't get the harmful abuse and brainwashing, but I can still see that. He's talking about, of course, Crucible, ladies and gentlemen. I can still see that, far as I can tell anyway. Every white person in my neighborhood has bought into the self-hating and demoralizing messaging. It feels like my wife and I are alone simply because we don't buy into the fantasy that people pushing the anti-white agenda actually want to be our friends. Actually, we are all sick of the teachable moments by now. Some are so sick they cannot tell right from wrong We must go free. Thank you, NWG. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Trentness. I'll just speak very briefly to the fact that when you're saying you feel like you're alone, that's engendered by the anti-white narrative. It's engendered by your meme pathogens. Even if you lived in a town, and I want you all to just for a moment to indulge this mental exercise. Even if you lived in a town, let's say you lived in a town of 5,000, 50,000, 500,000, and you knew for certain everyone in that town was white positive, you would still, after acclimating to that reality, you would still then conclude we, whether it's the 5, 50, 500,000 people, we are alone. The rest of the world beyond our town, our city, is against us. And that's because of the anti-white narrative. That's because of the meme pathogens that you were infected with. Even if in this mental exercise, we were to insert a reality that, well, 50% of the people outside of the town actually agree with you. You would still objectively, you don't know as a citizen in this town or city that this is 100% the case, but a deity would know, for example. And you would still, because of the meme pathogens that are inside of you, because of the infection from childhood, conclude that everyone is against you, because that's what you've been taught year after year after year. And it is so deeply seated in your subconscious mind that it is almost inextricable from your very own character. And so that's what we have to be aware of when we're feeling these sorts of things. This is your subconscious mind pushing these thoughts up, these poisons, because that's what it is. It's a poisonous seed inside of you. And that's what you need to recognize it as. Surely there are going to be people who are against us, anti-whites, but rest assured, there are far fewer than you actually realize, and far more who actually agree with us, to varying degrees. Coconut here. Oh my gosh, I love this, she writes. Perfectly done, and I love the artwork. Can't wait to read the book. Talking about Crucible, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you so very much for that. Remember, folks, we need to get active right now. If you go over to the nowhiteguilt.org, you'll find there's a link there for flyers to that you can distribute only in legal areas. You'll find that you have the video there, the link for the commercial that Groundhog Fury made, and I think I'll go ahead and I'll put the link for the sharing platform over there as well, so you can find that there and download all of that material. Please do. Please make use of these things. We have to strike. We have to get while the getting is good, as they say down home here in the South. Azimuth Clark writing here, hail brothers and sisters. I just got home from a camping trip where I was able to talk to a friend about going free and white well-being. We talked about Crucible and shared similar childhood stories. Now my friend is asking about going free and what our community is all about. With just a little courage and the knowledge of going free and Crucible, I am now able to reach out to our fellow Westmen and bring them back into the fold. A conversation over a campfire not only sharpened my skills for recruiting new members, but I opened my friend's eyes to white well-being. And he is now on the same trajectory. Thank you so very much, Azimuth Clark. That is magnificent. It's absolutely splendid. This is how going free works, ladies and gentlemen. Another great testimonial right there about the ease with which it is going free, to share that and to help our brothers and sisters go free. What kind of conversation with Azimuth Clark had said, with all due respect to individuals who have been in service to our people in one form or another in the past and still currently. What kind of conversation might that have been had he decided to start telling his friend about how other groups of people are so wretched, about how other groups of people, here is all the data about all of these other groups, how wretched they are, instead of, we need to start focusing on our people and the harm that's being caused to us. I'll continue harping on this for the rest of my life. It is the most obvious thing in the world to me. It has been for a very long time. And the only reason I think that others are stuck, are mired in some of these other approaches this old paradigm, this old, wretched, decrepit, crepitating paradigm, is because that's where they've come up. That's what the anti-whites have told them in the anti-white narrative. This is how you behave if you're going to oppose us. People get this little thrill, and you can see it in their messaging. I see it on their blogs. I see it where they write. It's the most pathetic thing. Let me just say this. Let me just finish that thought. Where they get like this feeling of power. People are afraid of me, just like they are in the movies. If I put on some ugly mask with certain symbols on it, and I hold some sort of a rifle, nobody's afraid of you. They think you are a loser. Nobody is afraid of you. But people think, well, law enforcement and those anti-whites are justified in knocking these people's doors down and dragging them off to prison for the rest of their life. Like these people out in Michigan. By the way, another connection to John Mark and Kurt Doolittle. They were also planning the governor of Virginia. So isn't that interesting? The governor of Michigan, where they hold their rally, piggybacking on a Second Amendment rally, just a week and a half or 2 weeks before, John Mark and Kurt Doolittle holding their rally in Virginia, piggybacking on a Second Amendment rally. And both governors were being scheduled by these people who were fooled, good people, I'm sure, who were led down the wrong path. They weren't listening to Going Free and how dumb that was. And they're planning to abduct both governors. Talk about asininity. This is exactly as I said it would happen. So I want to go back to my thought a moment ago. And that is, the people who like to talk about focus on this group of non-white people or that group of non-white people, they talk all the time. I want you all to follow this thread here so you can see how actually duped, like children who have had blindfolds put on and spun in circles 100 times and then shoved out into a minefield. That is how duped these people are. They come out and they say, well, this group of anti-whites that are not white, that are non-white, they're so cunning. And it's all tricks with them. But they're not going to trick us anymore, by God. No, they're not going to trick us anymore. I'm going to go right out there and imitate all of the TV shows and movies they've made of what I'm supposed to look like when I care about white well-being. By God, I'm not going to be tricked by them. What do they look like in the movies that those guys make, those anti-whites make? Let me get the same clothing and boots and flags. Let me look just like those people. Now tell me, how goddamn stupid do those people look? It's not their fault that they're being tricked. They're being tricked by smarter people. But guess what? We are not, we are every bit as bright, every bit as cunning, every bit as able to wage this struggle, our struggle for white well-being at the same level or higher level than any anti-white, non-white group out there. And the first thing we're going to do is we are not going to imitate the characters that those people tell us to look like. We're not going to talk like the characters that those people tell us to talk like. How stupid. The whole time they're saying, well, I'm not going to be duped by those cunning people. They're being duped. You know what these folks in their castle mansions, palatial mansions, you know how hard they laugh? My God. So let's keep rolling. I've got a bunch of things to do. I got to get back to working on this commercial. It's great to be here with you all. And remember, let's laud the people that are doing great work, the sloths, Groundhog Fury. I want you to actually look through that commercial, just like when Seika's commercial is finished, and try to appreciate all of the time and talent and effort and thought that was put into every single bit of that to make it effective for white well-being. Ragnar Valhalla says here, as my phone blows up, says, got my one ordered today. Greetings from Scotland, brother. Talking about Crucible. Thank you so much. A big greetings back from Virginia. Carlisle here. That is fantastic, she writes. It looks like a team of professional graphic artists and advertisers worked hard to put it together. This is a comment on Groundhog Fury's commercial and the stills and GIFs. Absolutely amazing that it was created by one person. Well done. What a testimony to the skill and the endurance and the integrity, the character of Groundhog Fury. We have the Alt Voices portal here writing, thanks for the shout out, Jason. And a big thanks to Rubber Dove. It's great to know that AVP has helped someone. One of the more powerful recent releases on the channel are the clips taken from Lovely Porridge's tap appearance in July on the subject of anti-white schooling. I recommend everyone to find them on the channel because there's some clips there which are potentially very useful for waking up friends and family. Very well stated. Check out that channel, Alternative Voices portal over on BitChute. We have Simon JJ writing here, professional advertising gives us the edge. Great promotion. Indeed, it does, because we are professionals and we will continue to project that, and we will continue to project who and what we really are, what we really believe in, even when the anti-whites try to misrepresent us. And this argument about, well, they're going to call us this anyhow, so you might as well be, is dumb as all get out, because what are you going to do when they call you pedophile? All right. Pants Monster writes here, have a similar awakening story myself. Was aiming to study law, and a guidance counselor suggested a course called Social Justice. It was pure feminist and anti-white indoctrination. I've many stories from the class. Suffice it to say, as one of the few white males in the class, I was left with very few options. Embrace my white guilt and submit openly, bite my tongue and accept my white guilt silently, or reject the anti-whiteism and argue. I chose the third. Once I could no longer stand the second. Seeing white girls accept our white guilt is what did it for me. On a few occasions, I reduced the entire class of anti-whites and the anti-white white teacher to silence. I skipped the class an awful lot, and the teacher threw away some of my assignments at some point in an effort to fail me. Another story entirely. And overall, it was a dreadful semester. If anything, though, I'm thankful that it started my journey here. Without that open attempt at getting me to submit, I'd likely still have been someone who buys into the anti-white narrative to a greater or lesser extent. I recommend Jason's book. I've only read it in Born Guilty, but the extended standalone version in Crucible will be great for many with similar experiences. And indeed, even those of us who, like me, have had faced the same level of anti-whiteism and thus aren't aware that it indeed does exist and is absolutely targeted at our most vulnerable, our youth. I'm proud of being one of the kids who didn't submit, and I'm even more proud to know that I've helped many recant their submissions and improve. God bless all those who work to do the same. And big God bless to you, Pants Monster. Thank you so very much for your efforts, this testimony that you just shared with all of us. And those efforts, those folks you have brought over to the service of white well-being, God bless you for that. And you are definitely one of our great champions, great participants, a great champion, somebody who's making a difference when now a difference has to be made. We can't wait any longer. Jack Sparrow writes here, been seeing this anti-white phrase used a lot of places, man. This may be the thing indeed. It's like a person is talking about the use of anti-white. Because of all of these now early adopters we're seeing. Who was the one that just, who was the person, another notable person just used anti-white? Anyhow, it's spreading. Early adopters are picking it up, and it's because of the work that we are doing. It's like a personified, it's okay to be white, completely harmless phrase. The only way to deal with the hyper offended. Thank you so very much for that. Let's see here what we have next. This is Evil Chars writing, anti-white exposes these monsters for all they are. That's why it's so powerful. Call them out for hating whites, and they fall right from their moral socket. They do indeed. And in fact, as I showed you all this past Sunday, even when a hyper anti-white individual reaches out, I had her with just in a few exchanges saying that she supports white well-being. Not that she's been converted to service to white well-being, but that, know this, if you don't recall me saying this often, and I will continue saying, neutralizing someone who would victimize you is every bit as good as bringing somebody over to going free, to service the white well-being. Dan writes here, under the Minotaur of Rebellion video for Mommy, Will I Always Be White? A year later, and I still cannot get enough of this video. Every time, to the brink of tears. Your passion, my God. Tomorrow is ours. Hail, Prometheus, dear brother, he writes, Dan. Thank you so very much for those very kind words. It is a very heartbreaking video, and because of the content of the little girl not wanting to be white anymore. Nathaniel writes here, I don't know if this is where the testimonies go, but I'll have something to say. So this is where it's going to go. I love it, Nathaniel. I knew when I found your channel, you were on to something with the verbiage that you present in Going Free. It struck home, you know? Besides giving me a new perspective and outlook with which to resist the painful, obvious indoctrination and poisoning of my people. It surprises me by who I've been able to get through to using it. An old friend contacted me recently. We haven't spoke for ages. She asked me how I was, and I told her everything about what had happened since we last spoke. My travels and hardships, fun little anecdotes from those years out on the road. The conversation turned to my home state of California, and she asked me why I had such a deep-rooted distaste. She asked me why I had such a deep-rooted distaste for my home state. I didn't want to answer honestly at first, to be entirely truthful. I had found a dear friend again, who I hadn't spoken to in ages, and I knew how hostile the adherents of anti-whiteism can be. I wanted to respond with something that would dodge the crux of the issue, that it was overcrowded or expensive, or that I just wanted to see someplace new. Those were lies or half-truths, obviously. I know that now. And I've grown very tired of obfuscating the truth and quietly bearing a burden that has no place upon my shoulders. I opted not to dodge the real crux of the issue. I took a deep breath, and I wrote her back. I told her I dislike California because it is rife with anti-whiteism and its adherents. I told her I wanted to find a place where I could exist peacefully without having to be browbeaten for the apparent original sin of having European ancestry. And the more I traveled, the more I realized that it was not just California, but nigh on the whole country that was stricken by the sickness. And that now, after much running and searching, it seems that I have two options: to confront and dispel anti-whiteism everywhere I see it, or to endure suffering in silence. Well, I confronted it then and there. I had a hard time going to sleep that night after I sent her that. I figured I would wake up to a deluge of rationalizing why my people are the epitome of evil and I should be ashamed, or perhaps some hateful slurs and an inability to reply to the conversation any further. I must have ran through every point and counterpoint in my head that I could make or be confronted with, and how to respond to them for almost an hour before I passed out. I was ready to run that argument tooth and nail in the hopes that maybe I could wake up just one more person to what was happening to us all. When I woke up the next morning, I found the following message. Quote, "Just so you know, I couldn't agree more with you. I'm a firm believer that no one should be ashamed where you come from, and no one should make you feel that way. It caught me entirely off guard, and I'm glad it did. Be well, Jason. Keep up the good work. Amen to you, Nathaniel. Thank you so very much for sharing that another magnificent testimonial to the success of going free. Where will this woman go now? Where will she go now? What will Nathaniel be able to introduce to her so that she can potentially become an adherent of white well-being and begin serving white well-being with the rest of us, making a difference in the world so that this world gets better for all of us? What might the outcome have been if Nathaniel, rather than responding the way that he did, had instead listed all of the evils or all of the misdeeds or all of the shortcomings of different groups around the world and how they harm us and etc., this old paradigm? I think probably she would have been frightened and not written back. So thank you so very much for that testimonial, brother, and for all of those testimonials. We, of course, will be back on Sunday with a great many more as they are coming in now, people doing and achieving magnificent things, improving their lives, accessing their true potentials, discovering that they have talents they never realized they had because they're finally clearing away the weeds. They're finally clearing away. It's like the old civilization, a mystical old civilization, if you can imagine this for a moment, that has had the forest grow over top of it, lost so long ago. Great, grand statues as high as the skies. And you find your way into this deep forest and you begin to pull away the weeds and you pull away the vines and you cut down the trees and you finally see, as one great tree falls and topples before one of these statues, the face, the immortal face, the redoubtable face of one of our greatest men, someone worthy of a statue as tall as the heavens. That is what you find inside of yourself as you tear away the brambles, as you tear away all that stands between you and who and what you really can be. Those are the mean pathogens, ladies and gentlemen, that deep, dank forest that now has overgrown the great civilization, that great biospirit that is inside of every single one of us. Are you going to find your way to those temples that are grown over? Are you going to find your way to those giant centers of government that are now grown over with these brambles, these trees, and these life-stricken vines, these mean pathogens preventing you from accessing who and what you really are? I'm going to take a look at what you all are saying, take a quick look and see if there are any financial gifts with questions or statements, and then I'm going to jump because I've got so much to do for White Wellbeing, and we've got to keep rolling. Okay, looks like we're blank there. And I'll just make a quick look over here and see. All right, looks like we're blank there. The Twin Raven says, man, is this stream starting to end? No white guilt would never be done that quickly. Actually, it is. We had to get on quickly and have a quick conversation. If you all have any questions or statements, make them now, because I've got to get back to work for White Wellbeing. As I say, there are many things that I have to be doing right now, and I can see it's almost time for me to get right to them. I see White Wellbeing is with us. Great name, brother. I love it. Writing, no white guilt. I have been telling everyone in Nashville I come across about going free. Amen to you. Bless you, and thank you for that. Promethean Hales. Eternalism is with us. Big D is with us. Lord Hendrickson is with us. Dean is with us. BD, hello. Great to see you as well. Let's see. Reptile, hello to you. Great to see you, brother. Nancy Drew, hello. Welcome to you. Ashley, hello. And Elaine Sabatino says, I'm cooking with no white guilt, but I'm listening. Thank you so much. We're going to make shows for all these. Cooking with no white guilt, hiking with no white guilt, working out with no white guilt. Nancy Drew says, exactly. Not good to play into their deception and narrative of us. Precisely. Elaine says, what a wonderful success story. Nice work, Mr. Clark. It was indeed. Althea is with us. Great to see you, dear lady. So's Corey. Art Acrobats as well. All champions. Traditional European is there, of course. And I mentioned Alleluia. Great to see you all. Nordic Iron writes, think of no white guilt. Oh, we read that earlier. Yes, indeed. All right. I think we have, I'll jump back to the bottom. Promethean hails to my brother Reptile. Lord Hendrickson, favorite ice cream flavor, says his is coffee and pistachio. Mine is, no surprise here, and that this is not just being doctrinaire. Mine is vanilla. Yonash says, getting closer to lockdown. And I think that's happening all over the world. Regrettably, that's just where we are. And Elaine Sabatino, I'll quickly say Spencer's Thoughts is with us. Great to see you, brother. And so is the wonderful and heroic 41 BMC. Elaine Sabatino, ladies and gentlemen, is maybe she's actually like 10 different women, because the amount of work that she is doing, distributing literature, finding literature, only putting it where it's legal, finding it everywhere else. It is truly remarkable. And this coming Sunday, I'll take the opportunity to show more of her magnificent work. And it's beautiful what she's doing on so many levels. And oh, let's see, didn't want to do that. Want to make sure that's okay. All right. And so a big thank you to Elaine Sabatino. In fact, let's get a round of applause for the work that every time I turn around, she has found more material. And also, let's keep it going for Tall Kevin, who is finding a great many signs, great big signs, as a matter of fact. I think Tall Kevin, he's magnificently, this guy, has an eye for finding these things. You know, if it's going to be out in the landscape, he's going to spot it. And so a big salute to him, and thank you to Tall Kevin as well for his contributions. Another one of our greatest heroes. I did briefly look at I won't have an opportunity really to talk about it here today, the beatings that anti-white non-whites are beating up. They are physically assaulting, maiming, and psychologically terrorizing white children in Ireland. And then, this may not be true. Check it out for yourself. Check it out with Snopes. And then what they do is after beating them senselessly, ganging up and beating them senselessly, they have photographs taken with them. This is something that, of course, will become increasingly the norm across Western civilization unless we recapture our destiny. Art Acrobat says, I will buy some more of your books this week. Well, thank you very much for that. Empowering yourself and then empowering all of those around you. Okay, everything looks good over here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was a short one today, but we had to take a step up quickly after PWR, say a few things, share the rest of those testimonials, because we've got I know I'm missing a bunch, but we get to as many as we can. And thank you all for sharing them, because that is really the work of Going Free. It's bringing so many folks over to what we're doing here, and as a consequence, so very valuable to everything that we're doing in service to white well-being. Again, I'll leave you with this thoughts. There is a pristine civilization inside of you. That is the spirit of the West, our biospirit. It has our greatest achievements. It has our largest and most beautiful, exquisite, filled with our greatest works, museums. Our greatest museums, our greatest halls of learning, our greatest halls of education, our greatest halls of our accomplishments, the grand pavilions with statues 20, 30, 50 feet high of heroes from all spheres of human endeavor. All of that is inside of you, and all of it now is grown over with the brambles of mean pathogens. Are you going to begin pulling those brambles away? Are you going to shoot the life-giving nectar for our people, which is a poison to the mean pathogens, on the roots of those brambles, on the roots of that poison sumac and the rest that is covering all that was once glorious? Are you finally going to climb and pull away the branches, pull away the life-stricken vines from the faces of those statues, and come again to know who and what you are and what you're capable of being and becoming a better you? I hope you will, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a blessing to go free with you all. I love every single one of you. Let's keep this energy going for the rest of the week. Mr. George and I will be back with you either tomorrow or on Friday with a tap. And then on Sunday again, we'll be going for big strides, working every single day. And we'll see you all then.
American schools are hotbeds of anti-American brainwashing. Teachers and administrators are trained to indoctrinate and enforce ideological conformity. Submission is the norm. Crucible is the true story of one schoolboy's struggle against society's obsession with an anti-American ideology. This young man refused to surrender to the psychological abuse of his superiors and the violence of his peers. In Crucible, Child, Patriot, American Victory, two visions of America collide. One is left standing.